Welcome everyone to the North Shore Fire Department special meeting. We are going to start with roll call. Amy, if you could start that for us.
Yes. Commissioner Admin is not here yet. Commissioner Pratt,
Present.
Commissioner Byers,
Present.
Commissioner Webster,
Here.
Commissioner Wolem,
Here.
Chief Callan,
Here.
Legal Counsel Matt Paxton,
Here.
and I'm Board Secretary Amy Oakley.
And Amy, did you get any public comment emailed into you?
No.
No. Okay, so then I'm gonna call for public comment now. If you are interested in making a public comment, if you could please raise your hand. Mr. Marin, you have 3 minutes. You're still on mute, Mr. Marin? You're on mute?
Thank you very much. You have to do that at least once or it's not a real Zoom meeting. That's what I've been told. So thanks for your opportunity tonight. I'm Dave Marin. I'm a resident of Kenmore and a past North Shore Fire Commissioner. Tonight, the main topic of discussion for the board is whether to pursue an NSFD, NFD Regional Fire Authority. I only know this because I attended the March 4th meeting and materials with tonight's agenda only allude to that goal. Meeting materials do not include any financial information. I'm confident some such documents exist. Potential attendees will have a difficult time making meaningful comment to the board without this information. I've made the request before. Please include all meeting materials in a timely manner. Citizens should see the documents that are available to the fire commissioners. Your RFK goal is to set and approve a vote for August special election. The fire chief wants you to rush to approve the process tonight. That means having the measure and the details of the RFA governance set by May of this year. Your own documents show that the rules for forming the RFA must allow and encourage public input in the RFA development. The May deadline cannot possibly accommodate real citizen input. As a past commissioner, I spent several years on committees studying the RFA formation for the North Shore Fire Department. I've worked with many ballot measures. I know from experience that while you might be able to touch the needed basis to get an RFA measure on the August ballot, you'll not be able to engage the key stakeholders, the public, or the 2 city councils in a meaningful way. It would take a month or so just to set up a citizens advisory panel, a month or more to educate them, the panel about the RFA in general, more time to run finance and governance options, and additional time for the panel to consider recommendations. Right now, I know you don't have meaningful understanding of the implications of this. You've not received any comprehensive financial analysis, no governance options, no comprehensive analysis of alternatives. You not have a plan to ensure equity of representation or an RFA structure. Will the cities have a role in governments? Will BOC will be involved in the discussion? Just a quick look at the King County Assessor's local scape platform shows that the North Shore Fire Department area will indeed be subsidizing the shoreline community in the RFA. When you factor in the disparity in calls for service, the growth in calls for service, the situation gets even worse for the North Shore Fire Department area. Please, I urge you to slow down the RFA merger process, take time to get it right, fix the spending problem, regain the confidence of your citizens before you change governance or move to raise taxes. If you not make a comprehensive effort to connect with the citizens and provide the process for meaningful input, you will certainly have opposition to the ballot box. When voters are confused, they do not understand a ballot measure, they usually vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? I don't see any hands. Amy, am I missing any? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Board discussion and possible action items. Discussion and decision of options to pursue for August 2024 special election.
So I didn't receive any emails or questions or anything regarding any further information or whatever. I did do a little bit deeper dive on the analysis, which I emailed to you all. And I was actually surprised that it's actually even less of the equivalent labor rate actually for North Shore or some for Lake Forest Park and Kenmore residents would actually go down from where it's at now. I think one of the reasons, and I put in an email, is because we've had to increase our financial support into capital, projects and reserves, which has bumped up our levy rate too. But moving forward, and that's without any assumptions of savings from the reserves or, where there's efficiencies, and there would be efficiencies there. Roughly, if we were to make some very conservative assumptions with the reserves and so forth, like, for example, we would not need to carry over as much in both the North Shore or Shoreline budgets for carryover. Right now, we're carrying over 700,000 and North Shore is carrying over, I think it's 300,000. If we were to carry over together 350,000 or more, 400,000, we'd still have plenty of reserves and, some flexibility, and we'd save money. That's just one example. Left one liabilities. There's a bunch of them. If we were to take some assumptions there, we could actually probably get down to $1.05, which would even be quite a bit less than what Lake Forest Park and Kenmore residents are paying. But again, I didn't want to go down. I kept it at a high level because that takes a deeper dive into what our risks are and board action on where we want the reserves and so forth. And I was just like, I'm going to try and keep it at a high level of looking at apples to apples, what our budget is now, a projected budget after, after the savings that would occur, and how that would impact with the assessed values, which is what I included in that spreadsheet. So we'd roughly be somewhere below in the high $1.11 area, apples to apples. Again, high level, take a look at this. So, but I wanted to do something to, take a slightly deeper dive. Clearly, if we end up pursuing RFA, we will need to engage with the cities. We will need to take a deeper dive on this. We will need to answer some of the questions about governance. I did forward you a checklist as well from Brian Snur, along with the template for an RFA, the articles of indoctrination, the language that goes into it. I also asked Brian if he was available to be our consultant to walk us through this, and he is. I don't believe that there's a conflict of interest unless, because Brian has represented Shoreline in the past, and now Matt Paxton and Brian Stern, their offices have a relationship. I don't believe that there's necessary, or it is necessary, to have separate representation for North Shore and Shoreline. But if there was, then we would have to, work through that. For me, I think it all needs to be transparent and out there. And if it's good, it's good. I don't think we need to protect, silos here, at all. So that's some of the work that I've done since the last meeting, and trying to get, as much information out there for you as possible. So anything else? Was there any questions that came up, or?
Well, I just
further
had a
information?
question for Mr. Paxton. And are you feeling the same as Chief Cowan, that we don't need both lawyers representing us? We just need one? Or are you feeling like we still need to kind of protect our investment at North Shore? I'm not sure if that's the right language.
Well, they can actually
but
collaborate too. It's just that we need to have
Separate.
separate,
yes,
but they can collaborate. That
Okay.
part's okay. It's just if we needed to have separate representation because of like what you just said, to
Okay.
protect interests or something like that.
okay,
That's where it would be
okay.
more of a problem.
And Mr.
Yes.
Paxton, is that,
Because of our affiliation with Mr. Snur, there would be a sharing of information between the districts, which is very normal. I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should retain separate counsel to keep that independence. But there would be sharing of information between me and Brian, and we wouldn't do the same work. So if there was something that Brian can do, which is, we both can do the same work here. Where it comes down to, I think, is cost, because while we are affiliated, North Shore has been paying my bill, and Snur's bill is paid by Shoreline. So that is the primary difference between when I work for you guys and when Mr. Snur works for you. that's where I kind of come from.
Okay, thank you.
And to that point, if we were to not have these silos and collaborate, then we would probably share both Brian and Matt's work, the
Okay.
costs on this topic.
I see.
At least that would be what I would
Recommend.
propose.
Okay,
Because they would both be doing work, on the behalf of both districts.
okay. Commissioner Pratt, did you have any questions?
I don't think I have any questions at this point, you know,
Okay, Mr. Webster or Commissioner Webster?
Yeah, I still have the same concerns I've had all along that we're pushing to try this by May. And just taking the numbers that you said, and this would have been put on the website, so people can see it all.
I think it did.
I just did.
Just did,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
What it wasn't there before the meeting, but did some preliminary work with it, and I've been busy, so I haven't done as much as I normally would do, but I'm just a question like assessed valuation for shorelines at 14 million, and we're at 11 approximately. And yet we're like 38% the size of what shoreline population is. And yet we're if we combine and make an RFA, we're going to be paying like 48% of the bill just by taking those numbers right there. And that's simple calculation. And so at this point, that's just the start of the calculations. And so I don't know how we can get these numbers and get all the auditing done to do this by May, because I need, right now, this doesn't pencil out to be a good thing. Well, when you take in, if it was going to be Bothell, Kenmore, or North Shore and Shoreline, it does come a lot closer to being proportional. So I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done here to figure this out and go with an RFA. I still believe that we need an RFA for the north end and that will work. I just don't think we can push it through in such a quick fashion, 3 months to do the amount of work. So I think the proposal to stay with the status quo and do a levy lift if we need to, and go that route, and then keep working on the RFA and do set up a committee and start working towards the RFA. But the timeline's just too tight for me to work this out. That's
Okay.
okay.
And the next couple of months would be the time to develop all these answers for you. But I understand, I understand what you're saying. It's a compressed timeline.
Right, and
why
I really don't think it is fair to the North Shore side. I'm sorry.
What's that?
I don't think it would be an equitable spread the way it's set up right now for the North Shore fire or citizens right now. I think that we would be subsidizing part of it out to shoreline with the RFA, the way it was set up. That's just what I see right now. And I want to get it out there. That's just so that, if I'm wrong, somebody come back and show me where I'm wrong. So.
Well, and as I pointed out in the past, where the growth is occurring, there will be the continued weight of future taxations and so forth. That will start changing this dynamic as well.
But shoreline has a ton of growth happening also, so.
That's what I'm saying. No, actually,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is that Shoreline has a ton of growth. And as AV continues to increase faster than other areas, that's where the predominance of the increased costs or expenses will come from as well.
I have to see that. I don't see it in what we have in front of us right now.
Okay,
I'm just,
well, if AV is increasing faster, if you're just, and it's faster, there's more, and the levy rate stays, just to say it stays the same, then that area is increasingly giving more and more revenues.
right.
And if the levy rate stayed the same, that would actually push the other one down. So where growth is occurring will take the predominance of growth and of future revenues.
Right. So, and I understand where you're coming from. Shoreline has growth, which you've had a steady growth over the last, what, 7 years or so. North Shore's got growth, and we're set with when our city councils open up our housing and what we're gonna be doing. is gonna have substantial growth. So here
It
again.
won't be at the shoreline level, but it'll be, yeah.
It'll
there's
be,
growth
it'll
there.
be growth, but it won't be a big enough differential to make up the difference in what I see with the AV the way it is. I've looked at that end of it too.
Okay, there's, the other piece to this is that, if you look at the other revenue sources,
Mhm.
you can't just look at, the AV, you have to, like, for example, Shoreline has contracts of, $6.2 million, in revenues, that Lake Forest Park has almost nothing, and Kenmore has the other, part, but that's due to GMT and other funding. The Shoreline has other revenue sources and contracts that make it, that's where a lot of the revenues come from. If you're gonna look at apples to apples, you need to incorporate the other revenue sources as well.
I don't have that in front of me. I can't,
Well, it's there,
but it's, okay.
Okay, I'm just saying, that these are the questions that would have been nice so that I could develop more information.
I just spent last night working on it, so, and I'm still not through the whole thing. Here again, we're crunching the timeline. I have other things going. I can't spend 3-4 days in a row. I'd like to, but I haven't had that time. I will have time this weekend to work on it. But it's a time crunch. And yeah, okay. That's where I stand.
Commissioner Byers, did you have any questions for Chief?
No, and maybe I'm not quite fully understanding what you're saying, but it seems to me that we're looking at there's a cost for service and there's a service that's being put out. And it doesn't sound like we're looking at reducing any sort of service that we're short in any way, right?
No,
Um,
that would be a decision
For the RFP.
for the RFP.
Right.
All I'm doing with this cost analysis was looking at what we're doing right now
Mhm.
and trying to take a very high level apples to apples comparison of where an RFA, if we were to combine everything with this, basically the same budget, so no levels of service increase or decrease, same level of service as what we're providing now, what would that financial impact be?
Yeah.
And it'd be a real positive.
Right,
for-
we're saying it'd be a benefit to our citizens, so service
Yes.
wouldn't go down, there'd be a financial benefit imposed upon them.
Yes,
Versus we could stay, they could have a financial negative impact with no service change if we were just stayed with the status quo. So I think in my mind, it makes perfect sense that we move forward. There's no other option long term. This is what this department needs to do and where we need to go. And so to drag our feet so that Commissioner Webster can understand it, I feel like is kind of I don't know, it seems like we're wasting time. We'd also be having to go up for 2 ballot measures as opposed to just doing 1 ballot measure. So for me, doing the RFA, doing as fast as possible seems to make the most sense.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna move the conversation now to, if it's appropriate to appoint members to the RFA. plan-
no, this is only if we're moving forward,
Oh, okay,
We
okay,
need to stay here. and
So we
make a
need to-
decision.
yeah.
okay.
are we moving forward?
Okay.
And so I feel just, I feel like I'm in kind of this weird spot where I totally agree that an RFA is the direction that we need to go. I think that we need to put together a work group and we need to start moving in that direction. However, and I'm not as concerned about the financial differences. I think that we need to stop thinking about ourselves in silos because the citizens of Kenmore and Lake Forest Park benefit from the services, have traditionally benefited from the services that Shoreline Fire provided and Bothell provided and Kirkland provided, even though they paid a significantly less level of taxation, right? So stop thinking about ourselves in silos and like, oh, well, citizens of Kenmore Lake Forest Park shouldn't have to pay because our service level is, our demand for service is lower. We need to think about what are we getting from joining forces? What are the benefits, the increased levels of service that we receive? And think about the whole community, the community as a whole, right? So, however, having been through an attempted merger with Woodinville that was an absolute debacle, and having been the chair of this board as we negotiated the contract for service with Shoreline and how challenging that is, and the time that I spent talking with citizens and talking with boards of Kenmore and Lake Forest Park. We need more time to make that happen. In a way that, in a way that justifies the faith that the citizens place in us as electeds. And that's where I'm at. I feel like the process is too rushed. I want it to happen. I really do. And I'm going to be on that committee and work towards making it happen. And I know that the timing right now feels like it's right, because if we don't do it, we're looking at a levy lid lift and a possible renewal of the fire benefit charge, and creates all these other challenges. But I think that doing our due diligence, bringing the citizens and the boards, city councils on board, is what we have to do to make it right. Okay. Yeah.
I just did the rough numbers. If you throw those revenues in, Shoreline's over 61% of the revenues. So it shifts that you cannot just look at AV.
Right, I know that.
Okay. And that's just me doing
I was just
quick math.
yeah.
So,
But-
but I totally understand where you're coming from. I wouldn't be pushing for this except for there are some other benefits from the timing, you know, and frankly, from a workload standpoint, it would be easier for me to push this out. There are a number of benefits of doing it this year as opposed to next year. And you know, that's the only reason why I'm pushing this. Excuse me, I absolutely want transparency. I want involvement by the citizens, residents and the cities and all that. I think we can accomplish that over the next couple of months, but it would be rushed. It's a compressed timeline. It was one of the reasons why I was bringing it up, you know, a couple months ago, you know, and now we're even in a more compressed timeline. So,
If we wanted the city councils in, which we do, to get on their schedules, is at least a month out, if not 2 months out, to get on their schedule.
well, we don't need the whole city council.
No, but we need to,
We need representatives from the council
But we
if
wouldn't,
they want
but
to.
they
don't
actually
we
have to.
invite them to our meeting?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I thought I missed something.
If
Okay,
they want to be on the RFA committee, then they would be invited to, you know, meetings every other week, whatever
Okay.
schedule we chose to do.
okay,
But that's
okay.
that.
So, do you want me to call a vote? And I just wanted to remind you that, Commissioner Admin and I have a remote interest. So our votes don't really count. It would be up to the three of you to be more on the same page.
Votes count, it just can't be the tiebreaking vote.
Right, okay, thank you, yeah. So are we comfortable calling it to a vote? Have we already made a decision?
Well, in order to bring it to a vote, someone would need to make a motion
Mhm.
to move forward with an RFA, with Shoreline.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay,
Well, I guess I'll make a motion that we move forward with the planning of getting the RFA Shoreline in motion.
I would second that.
I'll second it for the purpose of discussion as well.
All in favor?
Well, it's.
Oh, discussion,
Yeah.
sorry, okay,
If there's
discussion,
any further discussion.
okay.
I think we discussed our point of views. So,
I'll just reiterate, you know, that, Chief, I think this is the right decision to move forward with an RFA. I just think that the timing isn't right. But I look forward to working on this project and moving forward with it.
and I don't disagree with that RFA too. I believe that's a good idea. It's just the crunch timeline. I can't. I have to agree with Josh on this, that we should go forward with the RFA, but not at this time. You know, set up a committee and start working towards it. I think we should do that.
My last little comment is that I think it's a fairly simple concept for people to grasp and understand this RFA and move forward with it. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of time spent educating people that we're gonna need. I think it's a simple conversation with people. This is what we need to do it forward with, and if he's got the ability and the manpower and time to get the nuts and bolts moving forward, I think telling the city council is informed of the public of what needs to happen. I think it's a fairly simple sell. And I don't think that would take more than a one conversation with whoever had a question.
Now do we want to vote?
Do you have any last comments?
I think I'm more with Tyler because I think we've proven that we can be really good communicators with citizens and residents and also with both boards. So I personally feel that that is something we could do in the compressed timeline. But also, if that's not gonna happen, I really agree that we need to be moving that direction because I think that's the way we need to go.
Can I make one more comment?
Yeah,
It with when we go and ask people for more money, when we increase the tax levy rate, we're gonna be facing the same opposition of people that we've been facing with the RFA thing. And so we're gonna be facing the same challenges with the public that we would be for getting that levy rate increase on the ballot, informing the city councils and everything that we're gonna be increasing the tax. So either way, we're going to be going through this process of it. It's just, do we wanna do it 3 times or do we wanna do it once?
that's a good point too.
Just want to add that, you know, the more times you go to the voters, you get voted.
Mhm.
So we haven't requested a levy lid lift in,
I think the last I could figure out was like in 2005, but I think Amy might have done a little bit more research since 2007.
Yeah.
two thousand seven.
So it's been, how about this? It's been a long time.
A long time, yeah.
So it's reasonable.
So,
And
so as, you know, and then, you know, if we're not moving forward, you know, now, are we moving forward, you know, with just the two of us for next year? Or are we going to invite Bothell into that mix? Because they are looking for the next steps beyond this, you know, this admin services.
I think that would be, would form the committee, RFA committee with our board and probably your board. And get that discussion, be one of the first discussions that you have.
Okay.
And we
That'll
can-
take a super majority.
Yeah.
With Bob.
Right.
It'll take a super majority with us too.
Yeah.
It'll be a simple majority if we did it, if they were to come into the RFA
After what?
next year.
I agree.
So if we were to do it this year.
Forming the RFA only takes a simple majority, correct?
No, it takes a super majority because of the fund, because we have a fire benefit charge. So, yeah, so regardless of whether it's just the two of us or all three, it'll take a super majority to form the first one. But subsequent other additional departments coming on would be a simple.
Vote now.
Which it's kind of complicated. I had to ask Brian about that, because I was like, okay, this is.
Okay,
All right,
so,
I move to call the question on this and end debate.
And I'm good, that's, I guess, do we second that or what?
Yeah,
Yeah, I second that, so.
then we'll vote on calling the question here.
okay,
It's all right.
Robert's rules of order.
yeah. Okay, so,
A second.
Questions.
Call the question is to end debate on this topic and go to a vote.
okay, all in favor?
Wait,
Whoop.
just because I want to repeat what the motion is.
Thank you.
We've had a discussion. So Commissioner Byers moved to proceed with the creation of an RFA planning committee in preparation for the August 2024 election. Is that, I can make additions?
That's correct.
Close enough.
But that's not what we're voting on right now. We're voting to call the question and end debate. All right, so this isn't a vote on the motion. This is a vote to end.
End discussion.
Okay, so all in favor, oh wait, Amy, did you get what you wanted?
No,
Sorry.
We're just ending the discussion.
Maybe you
Just-
could say.
okay.
So we vote to end
All in
discussion.
favor to end the discussion.
Okay, so all in favor to end the discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Now we can go to vote for this.
Now the motion.
Okay,
So all those in favor of moving to create an RFA planning committee in preparation for the August 2024 election.
so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
So motion does not pass. Okay. Now we're ready to go on to step 4.2, which is appoint members to the RFA Planning Committee.
It's not relevant. Unless, unless we're talking about next year or something like that, because, well, actually, it's not specific for this year. You could actually, yeah, you could,
Okay,
It's on here, we can.
yeah, you can.
And I think it's a good idea. We do, we're all for an RFA.
Mhm.
It's just the timeline was too crunched.
Okay.
It's
It's a good one. I forgot. I was thinking that meant, but you're right.
I think Josh would want to be on that committee and I would volunteer to be on the committee.
okay,
And I think that's all it can be, right? Two?
No.
It's 3.
We can get three?
okay.
Because
Um,
you wouldn't have time? Yeah.
So that would be Commissioner Byers as well, if, as long as we can do 3.
Yeah, actually, it's in the RCW.
Okay, good.
It needs to be 3?
Yes,
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
and you'll get compensated at $70 a day. I guess this was something I was working with Matt Paxton on, actually.
Oh, okay,
I was like, oh, a day of service. It's not a day of service. It's a separate RCW that.
I see.
So.
Okay.
So that's good and then we can have a meeting and appoint the chair for that committee and do all that. So well, we have this, the three of us we're all okay with that. So want to set a time now?
I need to talk to
Yeah.
my board tonight,
Right.
Okay,
in half an hour,
okay. So
to,
we can do that. Keep it on meeting minutes for next time. Just-
and assuming that they're in favor of it as well, then they would appoint 3 as well. And
Okay,
then you guys, and then we can, look at, I'll have Amy and Beatrice figure out a time, for getting everybody together.
Okay,
And then my suggestion is you meet and then as a group decide whether or not it's gonna be just North Shore Shoreline, or if you want to invite Bothell as well.
okay.
And then that would be that next step. And then, and then we can talk about involving the cities, on the committee, too.
so I need a little clarification. So at one point, we discussed doing the lid lift and the fire benefit charge, voting at the same election. Is that
We can do that.
okay?
I did get clarification on that because I have never done a fire benefit charge
We've got to be
over a
real,
year early,
we got to
but
be real careful on this because that's not agenda to talk about the.
that's a good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
You got to be very
Would it-
careful, especially.
I don't know, maybe Mr. Paxton can provide clarification, because it could fall under 4.1, discussion and decision of options. Can we go backward?
Okay, I just
No, that's a good
know
point.
we've had some problems with it.
But I don't,
So,
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend passing any resolution for levy lid lift, but I'm fine with you talking about that. That falls within the what's permitted by law.
We're interrupting, but.
Okay.
no,
Thank
that's a
you.
good point. So, we can go for both. At the same time, it'd be 2 different ballot measures on the same election.
Okay,
We wouldn't have to go for August, for those. However, I would still suggest that because it's a special and typically fire departments do better on our own,
Mhm.
not convoluted with whatever else is going on. So that would be a suggestion by me, but it takes board, direction. I would also actually suggest not, if we're doing going for an RFA,
Mhm.
let's not go for both ballot measures this fall. Let's take care of what we have to this
Okay.
year with a lid lift.
Okay.
And then, go for the RFA, next year. and my suggestion would be April, again, because it's a special. And we
Okay.
do it in April, and then we don't have to do 2 this year and 1 again in April.
Okay,
And if for some reason we're not going with that RFA, next year, then we could look at doing the fire benefit charge next year.
okay, thank you for the clarification. I just was a little confused on what that was. Okay,
Can we keep that on the agenda for next month?
sure. And then our next thing is the upcoming board agendas.
Mr. Paxton did provide a resolution to officially appoint the members to the RFA planning committee, but I'm not sure, Mr. Paxton, if we do that resolution now or wait until Shoreline has also agreed to move forward with an RFA committee and then pass this resolution.
Was the language in the resolution specific to the August?
No, it's not, but it is specific to a merger, an RFA with just Shoreline. It could always be amended to include other agencies, of course. But the RFA planning committee won't be official until you have that resolution in place. But I mean, there'd still be the ability for the committee to meet with Shoreline.
So you could pass the resolution.
Yeah, Mr. Packard, does it make sense to pass a resolution now, or does it make sense to wait till our next meeting and know the direction that Shoreline wants to go in before we pass our resolution?
Half a dozen one way, 6 the other way.
Well, because of time constraints today, chief needs to get going, so why?
Well, it's there, it wouldn't take much, if you guys wanna do it. It'd be nice to actually get some,
Yeah,
if you guys are comfortable. If
it's
not-
just a quick thing, isn't it, Amy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can share it on the screen. It was also in the meeting document.
You don't really need me anyway. They give me a hard time and say it makes the meetings go longer.
You know, we have the 3 names, we could do it.
Mhm.
So I'll fill in the blank with the resolution number, but this is the resolution, and then there's the appointment of the 3 individuals, Commissioner Byers, Commissioner Webster, Commissioner Pratt.
I make a motion that we
We need to read it out loud, right? No? It needs a name or a number or something before we can.
You could read the resolution title.
That bold up there at the top.
Okay, so a resolution of the Board of Fire Commissioners of King County Fire Protection District 16, establishing a regional fire authority planning committee.
I move to pass.
This resolution.
Resolution as stated, is it
That's gonna
24-1?
It's probably 24-1, but yeah, as stated.
And I second that.
Okay, everyone in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Okay, Amy, if you can brief us on what is on our next agenda.
So I just had one more question. I think this will be for the benefit of everyone, but the RFA Planning Committee, are those public meetings? Are they required to be public meetings that are recorded with minutes?
They're gonna be public meetings because there's gonna be 3 commissioners,
commissioners.
us. And I certainly probably having minutes or recorded would be good,
Okay.
Thank
So-
you for that.
so we can figure out how we can maybe collaborate
Mhm.
on that.
Great. So moving on to future agenda items, the next regular meeting is April 2nd. It'll include the standard agenda items as well as an update from the subcommittee on Station 54 and the subcommittee on outbuildings at Station 51. There'll be an item on the RFA Planning Committee and the levy lid lift ballot measure.
Perfect. Okay, if there is nothing further, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
meeting
guys.
Thanks for your
adjourned.
work on it, Chief.
No, thanks.
I know it.
Yeah, like I said, part of me is